This is wild, guys! Claude Opus 5 built my entire game, wrote 17,000 lines of code, added 20 bosses, and shipped the final game. Is game development dead? Let's dive in.
Let's go!
So here's the challenge. As you know, I'm a die-hard fan of 90s games, but I knew I could build something even better. So I asked ChatGPT 5.6 Sol Ultra Codex to find the open-source Doom code on GitHub, learn it, and build a 3D shooter with Doom's atmosphere in Three.js. The name Riftfall came from a demonic rift opening as the player falls through collapsing worlds. Built in JavaScript, Three.js, WebGL, and web audio. Doom's industrial horror with Unreal Tournament weapons and a heavy orange and black interface. This is how it looked after several days of iterations. Not bad, but far from perfect, and I felt I got stuck and hit the wall. The model is just not there. Not good enough to ship a real game. A lot went wrong, too dark, it was almost impossible to see. Weapons felt weak, enemies tanked the FPS, maps were short and repetitive, allies walked into walls, and the first game opened a broken white page. We rebuilt everything. Lighting, enemies, weapon models, longer maps with keys, lava and bosses, ally AI, a new interface. Then I handed the code to the new Claude Opus 5 and Fable 5. Claude refused to touch the original. It copied the project into a separate Git folder, then read the whole codebase, mapping all 17,000 lines into a line-numbered brief. It rebuilt the 5 weapons into Unreal Tournament-style models. The first attempt was a disaster. A giant, flat, orange wedge swallowed the screen because depth testing was off, painting the guns back over its front. Claude re-rendered them in a separate pass with a cleared depth buffer. I was pushing it to the limit, like a vibe director, finding bugs and asking revisions endlessly. A true vibe coding experience which quickly went over the limit, spent over $7,000 in credits alone. These models are very credits hungry. Then 20 new enemies, a rotary cannon mech, a flying mortar caster, a shielded juggernaut, grenade robots that dodge roll your rockets, and a brain mothership that vomits drones. Enemies patrol before they spot you. Big ones shatter into physics chunks on overkill, and every hit shoves them back. Performance got the hardest look. All 60+ enemies and bosses ran the moment a level loaded, even behind fog. Claude culled them and cut collision checks to nearby sectors. A validator measured them dropping 99.8%. It added jungle, Arctic, and desert biomes, a giant purple rift in the sky, and a 5-stage final boss, the Inferno Devil. Then the biggest change of all, 20 handcrafted boss arenas. One for every level, each with its own boss, its own mechanic, and a cinematic fly-in before the fight. A zero-gravity derelict spaceship where you float instead of walk, and the alien host stays shielded until you hunt down its brood's hidden eggs. A shootout on a moving train, blood rails. A walking colossus you climb and ride. A storm lighthouse with a kraken. A castle siege where you hold to charge the catapults while a dragon burns the walls. And at the end, a marine base under endless invasion where your guns barely scratch the titans, so you find a helicopter and fight them and their portals from the air. You also pick who you play as, Romaine, Lara, or Gigi, each with different stats and a free signature weapon. The mistakes were brutal. The shotgun stopped damaging anything. A new reload sound passed wrong parameters, throwing an error that silently killed the damage. One line. The bloom burned my eyes. The boss core kept brightening until it whited out the screen mid-fight, a feedback loop that ramped its glow to 482. And the desktop version ran slow and pixelated. A thin WebView 2 wrapper choked the GPU, so Claude swapped it for NW.js and the real Chromium engine, and it runs full speed and razor sharp. It rebuilt the main menu into a cinematic circling a burning city, skyscrapers on fire, giant tripods striding past firing lasers, and then Inferno Arena. It wired in my recorded guns, generated new impact sounds with ElevenLabs, added Doom difficulties from Too Young to Die to Riftmare, and the kill streak announcer. Double kill! Monster kill! Every arena got its own soundtrack, its own lighting and color grade, hundreds of new ally radio lines, a boss death cam, and a victory reveal. Each round it builds, tests itself in a browser it drives, and bakes a fresh EXE. When the game was ready to ship, we also needed the Steam page. GPT Image 2 model MCP also turned rough ideas into Steam-ready assets, capsule art, icons, and backgrounds in every size Steam requires, plus store descriptions, tags, and Steamworks info. Claude wired in achievements, leaderboards, cloud saves, controller support, and a demo, and then helped with the game descriptions and translations. But I have to be brutally honest with you. The biggest downside is the cost. Creating a game like this cost me over $10,000 in Claude credits alone. These models are insanely expensive, burn through credits fast, and once you hit the limits, you start paying like crazy. So be ready to spend. At the end of the day, was it worth it? Or did I just make useless AI slop that nobody wants to play? That's for you to decide. So what do you think? Try the Riftfall demo on Steam and let me know. Is AI replacing indie game developers, or is vibe coding simply the next evolution? Ignore AI and get left behind, or use it to build games faster. Subscribe for more.